Mississippi or something like that. It's just follow these steps, Martin, and you'll be fine. It's like, okay. Well, Riven and Fiora once again going to be banned away here. Qiao Gu going to pick up from where EDG left off.
This is so punishing in a draft phase from the fact that Riven and Fiora Flandre is eating both of those bans. We saw it from EDG yesterday against Snake. Again, Qiao Gu going to follow that. And this is the thing about Snake and Qiao Gu and why I think they're sitting here in the losers bracket is that they've been the least adaptive to the 5.16 patch.
Yeah, completely agree. On one side it was V that was very unadaptive, only had the Fizz really as the answer. On the other side of the map, going to take a look towards Beast as the guy that hasn't really picked up anything new or adjusted where he is on the map.
Whoa, the blue side Callista ban comes through here as well from Qiao Gu.
Tells me that they want to priority pick Gankplank.
Yeah, it does
or something of the sort.
Yar, I agree with you.
Certainly could be the case. On the other end, I'm going to keep repeating this. If you have to throw bans at the top laners, there's just so many good top laners on the current patch that you can never ban them all out. I honestly think they just wasted bans at this stage because Flandre could like just grab Darius, Garen, Olaf right now. They're all human wrecking balls regardless. Sure, you got rid of 2 of the more dangerous ones, but just kind of is a strange strategy. There's like 12 power picks and banning out 3 of them just does nothing.
No, I completely agree. I think you should be, you know, core composition, and then you should be banning against the champions that are going to disrupt that.
Zone control. That's why I actually prefer Gankplank as a ban, because he controls a zone of the map that you can't enter. Like, that's why I like Azir, the Lulu bans, because they're about how you play the game. There's a lot of champions that do a similar thing right now that run out of the top lane that you just can't get rid of, and I'm going to go back to it. It's because of the itemization change-ups as well as the champion update. And
just to give a cheat sheet for our viewers at home, anytime you see a Callista blue side ban, or in this case, since we're on 5.16, a Fiora blue side ban, it pretty much tells you that your priority pick is either going to be Gankplank or Darius, because again, you're limiting that top lane champion pool, and when they ban Callista from blue side, it's saying we don't want to prioritize this champion, we still recognize it as a threat, but there's a different, bigger priority pick at hand here.
Yeah, that we need to worry about. But Snake have answered with the Elise pickup as well as the Braum, so we're going to see Ella try his hand at that champion here one more time. And Swift, he's had that Elise taken away from him. Of course, last 3 games on the champion. Broomglaive didn't exactly sell Spawn.
Beast also played it as well. I think that he was a Cinderhulk Elise in the jungle, so we'll see whether that can work out for him. I'm excited to see how Ella performs down here, whether Martin does have to go with the Ashe now, and they're going to use it for some of that startup fight. Of course, V can catch it with the Gankplank and just cleanse it away, but otherwise it will be pretty potent.
And Will Martin considering a Lucian here, but it has been the Alistar and the Viktor locked in, so that's a confirmed top lane Gankplank. Not going to be any pawn issues going on here in the mid lane.
Makes it very dangerous for Qiao Gu to commit on the Ashe as well, simply because Braum was first rotated from Snake. Again, we talked about how Ashe is the greatest pick into Braum or Yasuo just because of how their walls will impact not only her damage, but more importantly, her arrow. It's not as punishing against Braum as it is against Yasuo.
Yeah, completely agree. And you see Yu there has actually locked in Fizz. This is interesting because both Yu and Flandre have shown the champion.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do horribly against Viktor. Doesn't do great.
Here's the question for me. If Flandre takes his Fizz, because obviously he's the legendary Fizz player, although you are right, it is a flex pick. We've seen Fizz versus Gankplank all day yesterday, and Fizz never came out on top come, 30 minutes in that game.
Yeah, that is 100% true. In the nicest way to say this, I think that Flandre's Fizz is a little bit better than V's Fizz.
I would agree.
So let's just preface it for the people at home. The other important thing to point out is that AD Fizz is a lot of persistent damage, and Gankplank does very well against that because he has a big burst damage. Flandre has been known to play AP Fizz in the top lane.
Yep, that's
and Gankplank doesn't do well against it at all.
What the heck are you doing, Swift, with your summon spells?
He's got Teleport, and we're looking at Skarner.
Home Guard, Skarner ganks.
I am so ready for Home Guard
God.
TP Skarner ganks. And the fact that because Skarner right now on 5.16, he has the Crystal Shrines available on the map, you don't necessarily, you're still fairly reliant on Flash, but I can see how someone like Swift is more accounting for capping the Shrines and using that movement speed as opposed to being reliant on Flash to take a TP.
You have some ludicrous movement speed if you're running across them with the Home Guarders.
I am so ready for Swift Skarner.
It's blowing my mind. Well, it is going to be locked in here. So TCT locks away the Skarner for Swift.
I want to point out.
He got it.
I want to point out the Kog'Maw pick right here, and it's because of this threat. Fizz and Olaf are both really good at getting onto your back line, and you look at the peel they have right now, it kind of is just TCT if it is going to be Swift, you know, initiating these fights, which he probably has to be. So there's no one to really keep the Void Puppy safe. And with the Olafs, with the Fizz running around the Rift, like Vayne, Tristana, things that can reposition. That's why we're seeing the rise of these champions being able to be self-sufficient on the backline. There's just no like tools right now for TNT, apart from one exhaust to keep him safe against Flandre.
Especially Tristana, just because she has that massive rocket jump as well as the Buster
Walls.
Shot.
Walls counter Olaf. Like, that is the only thing that counters Olaf. Like, get over terrain and stop chasing me.
I'm so
Put
ready
stuff in the way.
for the Ashe Jarvan compositions to counter Olaf.
Just keep him locked in
Exactly, just a Jarvan mid jump on him. But kind of speaking about the protection tools, you're absolutely right. There's very few peeling tools available. I mean, pretty much Doinb is the safest answer for TNT to be next to.
Gangplank barrel, you know, just stand on a Gangplank barrel,
Exactly.
hope 3 people jump on you.
He's just going to sit back next to his massive AoE spells, and hopefully they deter enough from this Olaf and this Fizz from getting back onto that back line.
Well, the zone control from this team is actually very high, what with the fact that, you know, Viktor can control an area relatively well, stop people from wanting to come into range of his explosive damage, not to mention the barrels being there. So,
but look at the response. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. So why 5v5 them? Take a Fizz, take a Olaf, then just run a wave-clearing AD carry, like maybe a Lucian, for example, that can cull down a wave, and just never go near the zone control, because at this point of the game, like 4-item Fizz, no one can split push against on the side of QG.
No, most definitely not. But we are going to go through the lineups here, ladies and gentlemen. V versus Flandre. It's going to be Gangplank into Olaf. Vikings versus Pirates. Very exciting stuff as the Scorpion versus the Spider here in the jungle. Just so happy to see Skarner back. I don't mind that he's completely ridiculous now, as Doinb going to take the Viktor into use Fizz.
In the AD carry position, it's going to be TNT on Kog'Maw versus Martin's Lucian, and following it up in the support position, it's going to be TCT versus Ella, Alistar versus Braum.
And you know, the 2 big burly frontliner supports being able to get in there and mix it up. Ella going to take the chair, TCT the horns, see who comes out ahead.
The thing that we need to point out is it's Lucian Braum. That is a devastating 2v2 matchup.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially the passives work really well together, but also because Lucian's mid-range, being able to give him boosted stats means he trades very effectively.
Yeah, and also, you know, he's going to be right in amongst it, so that when you do use the stand behind me, it's going to be great. But we are onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for Game 1 between Qiao Gu and Snake. You can see him now walking out onto the Rift, and it looks like a 5-point defense system for Qiao Gu. And Snake looking towards the bottom side of the Rift.
A little bit of a fishy level 1 seems to be happening right now, so the reason why they're... The reason why they're running down and moving up is because they're playing with Fog of War. So if you come down from the river, before you come around that wall, you'll be spotted out. But if you come along that path, you stay hidden in Fog of War for as long as possible. And naturally, with the power of Braum level 1 on that Q, we knew that there was going to be a level 1 invade.
Oh, it's Earthrune Skarner as well. It's my favorite skin. Don't worry about it. Capturing points here as well. So Qiao Gu actually giving away. Both teams giving away the fact that they are in each other's jungle.
But gives you gold, man.
That's
so
true.
like as much as Vision, they already saw them invade there. Just pick up a little bit of extra gold.
And this is really important that we see TNT postured on the top side of the map, especially because both teams invaded, set down their deep vision looking for lane swaps. Now, Kog'Maw, Alistar. Alistar's not going to give you much protection in a lane, especially with a Kog'Maw. He does offer a little bit of sustain, but especially against Lucian and Braum. Like Spawn said, the ability to proc Braum's concussive blows with double tap.
Ooh, Ella. He's actually going to find V and Swift here in the jungle.
This is a really risky jungle start. You know, they're going to have 4 members there and some barrels set up to boot. Multiple members can come across.
There's no way that Snake can contest this just because Beast is on the other side of the map with Flandre.
Oh, Ella's... he was looking for it.
Didn't find any of the little Cinderlings either, but Ella, he's going to be fine. It's just going to be the red steal away.
Behind Martin, he's in trouble.
Pulverized here as well. Down to half health is Martin. That's a piercing light down, but that's nowhere near the trade damage he was looking for.
It's massive too, just because again, TCT will have the sustain as well as the Targon's proc available to him. Ella only has 2 Targon procs for Martin. He's forced to burn his pot, and Kog'Maw Alistar, what should lose this lane against Braum Lucian, especially level 1, now have a massive advantage.
And that was just really weird positioning out of Martin because he saw them at the red buff. no other way that they're going to approach this top lane right now. So approaching in the manner that he did just doesn't seem too smart.
Doesn't make much sense. That being said, Ella posturing very aggressively here on the top right.
I mean, difference is that TNT has about, what, 150 extra HP to trade with because he still has his pot.
Yeah. But nice trade back there from Snake, so they're trying to equalize it as best they can. V's on a couple of farm at the moment, whereas there's 15 in the back pocket of Flandre.
And we finally get Flandre on what is the top lane patch in a 1v1 matchup. See whether he is able to use this Olaf, and there's even a gank coming into the bottom lane right now. Turret dive happening.
Yeah, they're looking for it here. Beast with a lot of damage, uses the repel to get over to V. Oh my goodness, the undertow lands onto him, but can Swift make it work? No, Beast actually flashes forward. It's going to be Flandre that picks up first blood as Swift. They're looking for the dive. Undertow's there. Flandre wants it. We'll see whether he's going to get there. Gets stunned up after taking the turret aggro, but Beast grabs the kill. There's the kill in return from Swift as
Beast
Flandre
needs to try
falls.
and execute here. Oh.
Okay, that's actually massive there. So the fact that the dive took so long, the V was able to die and then come back to life, teleport, not only did he catch up on levels because you saw he was very low level when the initial dive took place just because of all the experience on the tower, but he has the double buff now.
Yeah, I still don't think it matters because it's level 4. Oh, no, he just got level 4. I was going to say if it was level 4 versus level 3, I think Flandre just runs at him again and kills him one more time.
And tries to take the double buff.
Yeah, and just takes it back for himself. But right now, you were exactly right. Flandre's gone with boots too, which is actually a really good purchase.
Especially, yeah, having the Ninja Tabi. That's actually really smart.
So we'll be able to get rid of a lot of the persistent damage that comes out of Skarner, that comes out of V. You know, as the game goes on, very useful against Kog'Maw, and there's not really all of that much lockdown CC that Olaf needs to worry about because he has his ultimate.
And also early movement speed, always a great idea for Olaf, who wants to be able to catch up and smack you with axes.
Still, V so respectful to Flandre right here, especially because both of them don't have their flash available. Big thing also is since the teleport cooldowns were learned on either side because they're in the bottom lane, it's not as impactful to the dragon.
Fancy footwork out of you there. Actually uses a playful trickster, sends Doinb with a little bit less mana. Gets some good harass out. He's still struggling in this lane. As I said, it's one of those lanes that Fizz should be able to farm in if he uses his health pool really efficiently, and because he actually took Ignite. Ooh, so Doinb, generally you take like a barrier or a heal against Fizz because he's just got such kill threat, but with Ignite, Doinb can pressure a little bit harder in the early game.
Well, you can see Beast. He's already going towards that Cinderhulk as Swift. He's got a shrine here, Beast. You got to be careful, man.
He's also got a Balmy Cinder.
Yeah. So he's going towards that Cinderhulk. Not going to be doing any Runeglaven.
But the thing about Balmy Cinder means that you're generally going for a Chilling Smite and you want to be able to efficiently farm in the early game. If he goes for like AoE Trailblazer Smite as well as the Cinderhulk, it's just not an effective pickup because you don't get the same amount of gold from your camp. So completely agree. It means that he wants to go a little bit more gank heavy, which seems counterintuitive.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, Flandre going so aggressive onto V, just kills him!
Something, chase him down.
Yeah, something, Ninja Tabi, good pickup.
Hey, weren't you just talking about that?
Yeah, so Olaf is like brutal against these new top laners. He is by far, like Fiora deals with him to a certain extent, but Olaf like just destroys everyone else, and it's because they're all melee, and he's got true damage, doesn't cost a resource.
Well, Martin and Ella going aggressive here on the top side of the map. TCT takes a lot of damage, and TNT trying to fight back. We can't do too much.
But that's what I was talking about. You know, why not give Flandre the 1v1 scenario? Look at the CS discrepancy, 25 to 46 right now. This guy is going off, and he's in a hard carry role and champion, but looks like we got to dive.
Yeah, Zatai, now Flandre. Dive coming into the top lane.
Yep, you looking to feed the fishes here as well as Jungle Waters is available. Lands on a TCT. Martin's just going to snap up that kill as TNT now completely underneath the tower. He's in a lot of trouble, and it's a double kill for Snake's AD carry.
Hold on, here comes Doinb.
I don't know whether he'll make it there in time. Trying to rotate, but not going to get there.
New Snake versus old Snake. Now, the thing is Qiao Gu going into this, they're the favorites. They finished higher into the LPL regular season. They went to the LPL Grand Finals, you know, especially after the performance that Snake had yesterday against EDG.
Off beat, trying to fight Flandre here, who just does not care. My god, those axes are doing so much damage!
So, the other thing about Flandre's ultimate is it has a very offensive use. It gives him armor penetration, which means that if you don't have armor early game against him, he whoops your butt. And as you can see, he's just brawling the heck out of the Gankplank, and there's nothing he can do to get away from it.
Is that called brawling? When you just run up to them and kill them? He's spending a lot of his time on his own in the lane.
Well, likewise, the Gankplank ultimate doesn't mean as much against an Olaf just because he can run through the slow and get out of the massive AoE. So, I mean, Olaf has Gankplank has 0 tools to get Olaf off of his face.
Yeah. And it's only getting worse now as well as the Phage has been picked up. So
and this is my favorite part of the game, because what they're going to do, right, is they're going to keep Gankplank bot and be like, well, we're just going to 2v1 the Olaf. And now what Flandre is going to do is kill the duo lane.
It's also very well timed from Snake simply because Flandre's teleport is back up and available. So by moving their duo lane back towards the bottom side of the map, they have so much dragon control, especially in tandem with the fact that their jungler is Elise.
There's also the fact that Martin, he's pretty strong at the moment as well. BF Sword does have an Avarice Blade there as well, but he's 2-0 with a 10 CS lead of his own. Well, TCT now might be in a little bit of trouble here as Yu has to avoid the gravity field. Ella gets stunned up for a moment. There's the Ignite down, uses the flash, try and get out of the way of the Chaos Storm. The flash forward from Doinb. Ella's gonna fall. The mid laner of QG answers back.
I am so surprised that you just allowed the mid laner from QG to flash towards his support and kill him. Actually had everything available, hadn't used an ability to that point. Probably could have popped Doinb as he flashed forward, but gave him a lot of respect.
Oh, there's the fish. Spider comes in as well. Doinb in a lot of trouble. One more auto attack and Yu locks that one down. So maybe this is what he was waiting for.
And Alice says, better late than never, my friend. Don't worry, I forgive you for killing me.
Really well microplay there, however, from Yu, making sure that as he queued forward, he threw out his ultimate. It's a little trick that Bjergsen likes to do on Fizz as well, just to make sure and guarantee that Fizz to connect. Same concept when Ringard jumps forward and he throws his bola.
It's what makes these skill shots really hard to dodge, because you're kind of focusing on the human particle flying towards you and not the little tiny particle traveling at the same speed underneath their body.
Yeah, always confused.
But here we go. So Snake choosing to put Flandre up into that top lane because they have the TP advantage. Now with the kill in the mid lane, it opens up space for them to take a very early dragon.
Yep, B's going to lock down the Rift Scuttler there as well. And V is playing so far back in this lane. It's getting to the point where as soon as Flandre grabs himself like some sort of armor, he'll just run underneath the turret and kill him.
It's even worse than that. The lane's pushing back, so it doesn't even need to...
He can just zone him.
Yeah, he can just completely do this.
Again, Snake are the underdogs going into this series. You know, Qiao Gu almost seemed like the better Snake at this point in terms of standings and what we saw from the LPL playoffs, as well as, I guess, regional qualifiers yesterday. So to see this complete reversal of night and day, Snake coming out on top here.
Well, there's the Chaos Storm down. Yu actually using his Urchin Strike to get back through, notices Swift. Fizz will be safe for now.
And you saw Gankplank ultimate used to try and break the freeze.
Oh, there's the flash forward, misses the fish. Doinb just going to get out of the way, but doesn't matter. Yu still able to lock it down. Swift with the stun. There's the Impale. Yu trying to get out. Nice Urchin Strike, but the flash forward. And Swift will be able to lock down the answering kill.
Here comes Beast and Ella.
Yep, they're looking to try and get in here, but Swift, Crystalline Exoskeleton, pretty quick. You gotta get his way out.
You're the only person that knows the ability names as well. This is great.
It's not true. Just for some reason, no Crystalline Exoskeleton.
Did force the flash out of Swift, however, and on that Skarner, that's pretty massive. So again, your flash obviously is going to have a longer cooldown than your ultimate. Typically, like Vi, anytime that ultimate's up and available, you want to use it, but he's so reliant because he's very binary on how he initiates a team fight.
Flandre looking for V. Did have to use everything in order to get out.
Flandre uses an ultimate, gets the summoner spell Flash, as well as a lot of presence in this lane. Also got the Citrus
CS.
So we'll see whether they do commit to the dive or just want to zone him away from the turret. You would be hesitant to take it at this point of the game.
You should just hold it and continue to farm Gankplank.
Yeah, like Season 1 strats, like backing the turret. I'm winning this lane.
And there's no reason to take the standing gold because their lanes are winning 1v1 pretty much across the board.
Yeah, so they don't need to give anyone else a boost either.
Exactly, and likewise, you're just waiting in between 6 minutes on that dragon window. So Snake should absolutely hold this tower, just continue to kill Gankplank.
Well, Flandre ignoring that. Oh, gets the money.
He's 3 levels and 50 CS up.
Look at that. Undertow's doing like damage that I didn't understand Undertow could do. It's because V hasn't bought an item in a very long time.
Not only that, it's just levels are so undervalued.
One comes down.
Good body block out of TCT there to be able to grab the Winter's Bite. But yeah, so levels give you like 300-ish gold worth of stats every single time you ding. So being able to get that for free as well as this huge CS advantage just means that Flandre is much further ahead than otherwise you would think.
Well, you'd already think you'd be pretty far ahead, Spawn,
yeah,
to be honest.
You'd be wrong.
He also got the bounce on the tower.
Well, you going aggressive one more time. The fish is down. Gravity field not going to do anything, but the Impale comes in. The exhaust is there as well. Yu is so far away from everything, and he's going to fall down.
Hero Swift showing up at the very last second right there.
Just sets it up for his punter as well as the Alistar comes in, gets the headbutt.
But the thing is, that isn't even a counter gank. That's just your mid laner's been soloed out twice, so you show up mid to hopefully save his life. Swift with a very good play, but probably won't stop the bleeding anywhere else because it's just a kill and no follow-up objectives.
Question for me now is how do Snake posture their lanes? We see that Ella and Martin have now taken up the mid lane because they're going to start rotating around, sieging up this standing gold. Does Fizz go bottom? Does Fizz go mid?
Well, it looks like he's heading towards the bottom lane at the moment. Flandre has the Black Cleaver as well.
Incredibly important because TNT cannot be in a lane alone with either Flandre or you.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we talked about. You can have all the zoning potential in team fights that you want, like being able to control portions of the map. But if you can't respond to a split push, there's just no reason for Snake to group up and fight you. They're going to continue this, a very good 3-man siege because they've got the Lucian who takes out turrets relatively quickly. Double disengage tools in Cocoon as well as a Winter's Bite. And then you've just got two unstoppable forces in the top and bottom lane.
And likewise, to touch on Martin's itemization, we've seen this all throughout the LPL. This tells you that they want to siege standing tower. So instead of upgrading to the Infinity Edge, because you can't crit a tower, they take the most cost-efficient way to push them down. You upgrade your boots instead, you pick up the Avarice Blade because you know that you're farming in between the 6-minute Dragon window, and then you have flat AD items. So this is your rotating tower sieging items. Right before this Dragon fight, he'll probably make the back, get the purchase for the Infinity Edge, and pick up the crit for the battle.
And look at how efficiently Snake are farming the map. They've got two people in the jungle. They've got one top, one bottom. On the other side of the rift, QG have their AD carry and their mage both in the mid lane. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get anything for it.
And they're splitting the farm and the gold resources between the two.
And actually, Doinb misses the death ray as well after the repel goes down to dodge away from the gravity field. Decently played there from Beast. And Flandre continues to zone here in the top lane. And it's just too many bad news stories for Qiao Gu. The fact that, you know, they are pretty good at damage control on a general level, but when you're losing this far in so many different ways...
It's not even that. When you lose against normal LPL teams, it's turrets, it's objectives, and it's dispersed evenly across the whole map. This, they're getting beat out in CS and kills in 2 of their lanes. So it's a 2,000 gold lead on the top laner and a 2,000 gold lead on the AD carry. There's just no way they can fight them.
And normally you would say that this would be okay since it's Qiao Gu and they can fight from gold deficits, but against Snake, this becomes incredibly scary very quickly.
That's a very good point. Well, Flandre, he has made it through that top outer turret. V now trying his very best to withstand the onslaught that is the Gankplank.
That was a very different barrel than we're used to seeing.
Okay. V has to deal with the ultimate now as Flandre is throwing so many axes. Well, Ragnarok's still at about half the duration. Flandre probably should have held off.
Classic Flandre, you now have 4 people collapsing on top lane trying to kill him. Meanwhile, Snake pick up a free objective.
Yeah, well, they got him. There it is. Actually, Flandre is taking a long time to die. Needs the help from the turret, and Doinb is going to lock that one down. 4-2-1 now for the Olaf.
Just dive him.
Just dive all of them, Snake.
The problem is that... no, I think they should dive him.
Headbutt pulverized from TCT. Ella knocked up. Just needs to be a little bit careful. Stands behind Martin.
So that actually turned out to be not a great trade for Snake because they already had all this incredible pressure on the map. Probably could have just zoned him away from the turret without having to use the ultimate.
Don't need to sacrifice Flandre's life for the shutdown bonus on it.
Yeah, exactly right. But in the end, pulls the trigger on it, gets a very... I guess sometimes it's about sending a message as well.
Yep.
And like right now, I think that V firmly understands. If he didn't get it the first 3 times he was killed, the 4th time really drove the message home. I shouldn't be in this lane by myself. So there is that part of it, but they didn't get any turrets. They weren't able to really pick up that much farm at the same time. So Flandre needs to start playing a little bit more conservatively to keep the gold lead where it is.
Yeah, and since they've already committed to rotating around on the standing gold, we now have the completed Infinity Edge, so a big, massive power spike for Martin here. They need to just group up and attempt to siege.
Nice cocoon lands there as TCT takes the majority of his health bar. The culling comes through. TCT forced to use the ultimate. And you can see he didn't want to do that.
And they may not have gotten the kill here, but unless Qiao Gu can stagger their backs and get into position, this should be a free tower.
Yeah, and beg your pardon, they actually did pick up Dragon as Flandre was going down, so you can see they're on number 2 at 17 minutes in, so there was a good news story there, and they burn a Gankplank ultimate. Turret still going to fall.
Yep, Fracture going to find Flandre, but he doesn't seem to care too much about it, nor about the death rays. Doinb completely out of mana. May need to still respect Swift's ultimate.
So at this point, Snake have snowballed this game very quickly and very far ahead. At 18 minutes, it's still relatively difficult to siege into inner towers simply because you just don't have the itemization or the levels necessary to do so. The most important objective on the map is going to be that Kog'Maw in the top lane.
Yeah, Kog'Maw getting chased down, has to burn the flash and the heal.
Oh, double undertows
and he
miss.
Gets the TP.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay, so Flandre misses 3 axes in a row, has to use the flash to get away from TCT.
But you can just see how much presence he has on the map right now. This is to the point where he's going for Dead Man's Plate, I think, as a second item, and he's just going to have so much forward movement speed and momentum when he's running around. There's not really much they can do to push him off turrets for the next 10-15 minutes.
Or ever.
No, he does fall off. Olaf is one of the champions that... Brutal mid game, not the best late game. That's where you'd prefer Kiora to be on the team.
Okay, well, Flandre. Oh, Martin, in fact, picks up the blue buff there. Thought the barrel might be able to secure it, but doesn't.
And it's important that they're contesting the blue buff, because touching back on my earlier point, it's still relatively difficult to siege into inner towers this early in the game, despite how quickly they've ramped up and snowballed the game. So contesting smaller objectives, like the red buff, like the blue buff, Qiao Gu understands we cannot fight for this, so Snake are just grabbing every single resource available on the map and slowly choking them out. This next dragon fight is going to be incredibly important for both Snake and Qiao Gu, because it's pretty much... I feel like this is Qiao Gu's last chance to get a foot back in this game.
Yeah, has to look for that mistake. You know, they've got pretty good anti-siege with V and Doinb. V's got the luxury of not really being a mana-intensive wave clearer either, especially as he starts ramping up towards that Trinity Force, but V definitely does need that. And we're seeing the QSSs coming out already. Beast has picked up the first QSS of the game. It's interesting. After Cinderhold. Yeah. I don't think you're the target, Beast.
He likes to think he is.
Yeah,
well,
that is...
has been seen. Oh, Axe not going to find it.
It's kind of like a Dade situation. Frankly, I just feel like it's a waste of gold for how early it is into the game, where you could snowball your lead and offer either a Sight Stone, oh no, he's already got one, or tanky stats for your team.
I thought you meant he'd built Majias. I was like, a Dade situation.
Oh,
Where's
no,
the Majias?
not a Majias. The Ezreal QSS situation.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the ultimate from Gankplank here as well, as Martin blows the heal, looking to try and get some damage back onto TNT.
But you can see they understand that sieging is going to be difficult. Teleport actually coming in.
Yep, Skarner actually able to take down Beast. That's ironic considering the QSS now as Swift might get stunned up, is going to, but he's very tanky right now. Death Ray almost takes down Ella as he throws out the Winter's Bite to slow the pursuit. Martin with double buffs. Will he be able to offer any assistance as Flandre makes his way back in? So much damage, but he's going to fall down in the end. There's the flash over. The exhaust gets there. Special delivery. There's a Lucian as Ella's just going to feed himself to QG. Quadra kill for TNT, and this is the QG team fighting we were expecting.
Devastation for Snake right here. We said that this next dragon fight, the 15 to 20 minute mark is Qiao Gu's. This is their high time. This is their throne. This is how they make their stake in the LPL. Biting back so hard. Snake's mid-game shot calling. It's never been great.
I just don't understand how they did it. You look down the items. Let's take a look at it. They get caught out.
Double Trinity Force for Qiao Gu right now. This is a massive breakpoint.
Yeah, it certainly is, but they're against an Infinity Edge Static Shift, which is a bigger breakpoint for Martin, but he's not hitting anyone. You can see he's on the bottom of the screen. Ella's already being chunked. Flandre feels he has to go in. Does so, but he's relatively squishy against all of the magic damage. You gets a lot of work done, but a fantastic pulverize over the wall from TCT means that it's just not going to work. And that change, you know, if Fizz's Q doesn't connect now, it doesn't do any damage. That's exactly what just saves Swift's life.
Well, nevertheless, Snake are going to be able to grab themselves the third dragon of the game. 22.5 minutes in. All is not lost.
So the game's even now.
There's a
1,400 gold lead, but double QSS, back to equal.
Yeah.
That was an incredible swing for Qiao Gu right there.
Well, Snake definitely going to have to think about what they're going to be doing about Swift, because that was largely on him. He was just soaking so much of the damage, even you flashing after him at the end there. Just meant that no one else was touched, and TNT grabbed a quadra kill, and he is now incredibly relevant in this game. Picked himself up that Bilgewater Cutlass to go along with the Trinity Force that he already had.
Still definitely not as strong as Martin. You know, he's 80, 90 CS behind still at this part of the game. This is one of those situations where TNT's done the miracle, grab 4 kills. I'm now back in the game after performing really horribly in the laning phase.
Single team fight. That's the MO of Qiao Gu. TNT, I mean, he can play fantastic on champions like Vayne, like Kog'Maw. He can carry a team fight, but a lot of times, like you said, he'll just show up on the back half of it, clean up all of the kills, be the janitor, and then just rock all this surplus gold. But Snake, mid-game shot calling every time. It bites them.
Really working out for the side. But Swift be able to help get QG back into it.
Well, that's one member of QG right now that is absolutely massive. Swift has got like 40 creeps, most of which would be monsters there. Couple of major items. Beast QSS right now is just sticking out like a sore thumb. If anything, as a jungler, if anything, you should be like, be dangling yourself in front of the Skarner, saying, please bite me so you don't kill my low-range AD carry or my mid-lane assassin. Instead, he goes for it over some tanky stats, and it hasn't worked out.
Oh, Doinb gets slowed. Flandre might need to get over the... Oh my goodness, the gravity field doesn't do anything.
He hasn't hit Max.
There's the ult out of the Gankplank, though, as Flandre, he's just wandering around with the Chaos Storm, and Swift makes his way in.
That's going to be Baron, potentially. QG get another pick. They teleport in. This will 100% be Baron. Fizz is in the bottom lane.
Yeah, he's trying to get up there as quickly as he possibly can. Snake, they do have some vision here, but it doesn't look like there's too much they can do about it. There's a lot of damage onto this Baron.
Swift destroys it with that Shrine. Look how quickly it's going down. Yu's not going to be here in time.
They're trying to get in there. There's the culling doing a lot of damage. Doinb uses the Zhonya's now as Martin trying to hold off at the right position. TCT is going to whip the Rupture as Yu finds his way in. There's a gravity field. It's going to lock down the Fizz, but he's not dead yet. Everyone out of the fight. Martin trying to kite the Skarner, but it's very difficult. Able to flash his way over the wall as now Snake trying to get their way in. Beast is here as well. V's going to get locked down. Able to use the citrus fruit in order to get his way out as Martin. He's trying to get away, but he's not going to be able to. TNT back in the fight now as well as QG. They're going to turn this one around as well. Double kill now for the Kog'Maw. And I don't know how they orchestrate these fights the way they do.
That is 5.16 Skarner.
Yes, Swift is massive. There's no way you're killing Swift right now. He's just an absolute brick. Cannot be moved at all. And you saw Lucian put so many bullets into him. Probably would have loved to have a Last Whisper instead of that QSS because he's just not going anywhere.
And for how quickly Swift has farmed, look at that jungle difference. 122 to 86. You're level 14 to Beast level 12.
Yeah,
two levels
got 14
on your...
out of 15 kill participation as well.
Exactly, a completed Randuin's Omen. You've got the Cinder Hulk online as well as your Spectre Cal and your Merc Treads. He's got so many core components and he's chunking them so hard.
And it's a bad comparison to make right now, but Beast with 2 cocoons in that team fight and just was completely inefficient on the Elise. So right now, Swift going up big for his team and Beast not really being able to keep up yet again.
And the terrifying thing is, yeah, we're even on gold, and again, you then have to account for the fact that the QSS is coming through, so again, it's eating out an item slot, it's forcing your team to expend gold that could be going into damage. But look at Qiao Gu's team composition of where they're going to start to spike and really carry these late game fights.
Mid lane. Yeah, Yu looking to try and grab the fish. TCT's going to block it now, takes no damage after the ultimate comes in. Flandre looking to get onto TNT. He's found him now as well, as there's a lot of AoE, but it is going to be the Olaf securing the Void Puppy. Doinb still trying to find his way in there as Ella forced to use the flash. They're just dodging Swift as best they can. He takes no damage.
But they do get the pick onto the 7-1 Kog'Maw, so all of a sudden shut down gold across. I think it was actually Flandre that picked it up.
That's their saving grace, Flandre.
That's massive right now because you can see he can't really deal with Doinb. Doinb gets a power transfer, moves a little bit quickly to be hit by the axes. Kog'Maw is a sitting duck.
Well, Fizz takes a lot of damage from that barrel.
BF 5 Gankplank, don't worry.
Yeah, well, still does have a BF sword and a Trinity Force.
It's the Gankplank. It's time to cash in.
Yeah, Avarice Blade, man. Underestimated item.
44 seconds into this next dragon fight. Qiao Gu are in a position where they can look to 5v5 for this.
Flandre probably needs to grab some magic resistance for himself on the next item. We see a lot of Olafs actually prioritize Hex Drinker as their magic damage item. It gives you that second offensive, I guess, flavor.
Yeah, more of Malmortius works pretty well with his passive.
Certainly does, and then you also have the added bonus of not having to pick up Spirit Visage. Like, it just is... What the heck?
Martin playing very far forward here as Doinb gets caught by a Cocoon. Swift, Banshee's Veil popped, but...
It's because they saw V in the top lane without TP.
As well. Snake still trying to posture around this dragon. The area control is available from the ultimate out of V.
This is one objective they do need to be able to secure right now because it's number 4 for them.
But against Viktor and Gankplank, that AoE spread.
As we said, the game plan wasn't to 5v5, it was to split push. But now it's being closed to the point that they need to be able to piecemeal something together. You looking for a flank, they've started up the dragon.
See, Undertow's still flying forward here from Flandre, who's relatively tanky, but he's tanking a lot of this dragon and a lot of the poke that's coming in at the moment. Might get some damage down. The dragon's going to reset. Doinb picks up the aggro. Snake's still trying to find the position. New play for Trickster is down. Flandre's in there. Oh, it's going to be stolen away from Swift now as well as he locks down Beast. Beast trying to walk forward, but Flandre just gets exploded by Doinb. In the backline, it is going to be you, but he whiffs the fish. TNT still untouched right now as Martin trying to get damage over the wall. TCT, he's still alive, and Snake are just falling apart. Doinb may even be able to finish off Beast. There he is.
The problem with Snake's composition is that they have 0 front line, and the front line on Qiao Gu is massive, primarily in the hands of Swift. This is the spread of the AoE. We talked about it. Gankplank ultimate as well as the Viktor ultimate just annihilated. And then Kog'Maw sits back there and he's able to reach into the backline and cut through everyone.
Yeah, that's the difference between Kog'Maw and the Lucian. You've seen 2 team fights now where you're like, Martin has these items, should be able to be effective, doesn't have the range to do it. Kog'Maw just sets up as a tank as the Baron does fall down to QG and completely decimates the entirety of the team. Credit for QG being able to fight back. They're now 3,000 gold in the lead. And Snake, after what was a dream start, have fallen apart.
And this is QG that have only taken 1 tower this game as well. There's a lot of standing gold for this side to use this Baron buff and pick up for themselves. Martin going to grab himself a Crystal Spire, but QG looking well and truly in control now. And it's exactly what you said. I just don't know what Snake do to combat this. Do they have to go into full split push? Do they have to force QG to split themselves up if they want to take down Snake? Because at the moment with the Baron buff, that looks pretty hard.
They just don't have a lot of options on their composition to deal with any sort of siege. The fact that your wave clear is entirely reliant into your Lucian, like, yeah, you can look for a 1-3-1 possibly, but I don't think Lucian, Braum, and Beast, especially at this point, are enough to deter from a tower dive.
At this point, they're not. Go back 10 minutes. They were in prime position. What they needed to do was not overcommit with Flandre twice, and then fight around red buff after they've given shutdown gold over to the other team. You can see that TNT TCT now just going to continue to mop up these turrets. The gold lead's going to get even bigger.
Yeah, at the moment just streaking ahead, but there's not a lot Snake can do about it. They're trying to trade here with Flandre in the top lane. Still able to bully out V as Snake look to set up the defense around their inhibitor turrets, but QG don't look like they're stopping.
They have no wave clear here.
Got the culling. Seems to be about it.
Against Baron-empowered creeps, it really doesn't matter.
No. Well, that turret is going to fall down. There are still a lot of minions here for QG to work with, and Swift just creating an area that you cannot walk in. And Snake just watch their inhibitor fall.
Yeah, both top laners looking for a way in, though.
Yeah, Flandre looking to find his way around. That's actually the Chum. The water's out, finds no one as you down to about half health.
And credit to Qiao Gu's draft phase. Yes, they really made the big comeback come that mid-game off of a Snake mistake, but their composition is so much better suited scaling into this late game. And right now, Snake, they simply have no options to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, that I agree with. Like, the way the early game was going, Snake probably should have been able to close out this game, but if it ever got back to equal footing, they were going to struggle because of this siege that can come out. plan was, though, to smash lanes. You got Lucian, you've got Fizz, you've got Olaf. They executed on exactly that and then just dropped the ball during the mid-game with a horrible team fight.
As soon as the lane phase, the structure of the lanes themselves was dropped, Snake fell apart. They had no idea how to move around the map.
Martin just got hit by a 1200 barrel. They need to get off the turret, and that will be inhibitor number 2.
Yeah, mid lane's going to fall down here as well as Flandre. He's down to half health. He gets headbutt pulverizes. There's the Chum the Waters, but it's only on a TCT. Yu finds his way into the middle of the fight. Doinb is incredibly low. Beast, he has to use the repel to get out as Yu. He's going to get ultimated up, and Beast forced to use the flash after V grabs himself a double kill. The exhaust is down. Martin underneath his Nexus turrets, but QG, they want to try and finish this game right here, right now.
Yeah, they're going to be able to, and look at how Swift is using this Skarner ultimate as a response to when the Zhonya's has been popped. Martin trying his best.
Oh my goodness, he's doing his very best to try and get back into this one. Nice flash out there as the static shift was doing some work. The Ignite's down. Beast finds his way back in. Are Snake going to be able to defend for now? That's the question. That was an amazing cocoon. Thought Swift might have been able to soak that one up as Doinb, he wishes he had more mana. He's got a blue buff, but he's just using spells too much. As there's the cocoon once again, and Beast with the outplay.
Oh, why don't you go on TCT? Come on, Beast.
Oh, here comes the teleport from Flandre.
Running down mid lane.
Can they get
Can
the
he get
follow-up
Skarner? No,
kills?
can he get the cow?
Oh dear, Flandre's looking for it. Does have the flash, gets the ward over. Okay. Okay, where are you going to go?
Execute.
Yeah, TCT probably can now.
He's got a lot of health.
Yeah, it'll
Base
take
turret.
him a while.
Just fell whilst all this was happening, so the Nexus is undefended.
Okay. Well, headbutt pulverizes there. Flandre has to hit him. Beast is going to. Probably would have preferred that on the
All
Olaf,
me,
but beggars
says
can't
Beast.
be choosers.
All me.
V went back and finished his Infinity Edge and grabbed a Ghost Blade as well, by the way.
I think he had Infinity Edge last fight. He teleported in, so it's just a Ghost Blade that he was able to finish up. But Martin certainly took a lot of damage from the last barrel, so
He did.
probably only going to get worse from here.
And Snake looked so strong in the first 10 minutes. Their base now lies in tatters.
Doing the very best that they can to try and get this back together. What is Beast doing? What? Got a Zeke's Harbinger.
I actually don't really mind it.
Okay.
So it gives you cooldown reduction, gives you a little bit of armor, some AP in there. He
Good point,
benefits from the connection much more than what Ella is going to at this stage of the game, and it's very Snake. You know, they're used to building supportive items on their jungle position. Who I'm really wondering about is Martin. Upgrading into a Mercurial Scimitar, like the passive, is legitimately 1 second of movement speed over any form of lifesteal, any armor penetration at what is 35 minutes into the game has completely blown my mind. He gets hit by 1 barrel. Not only is he out of the fight, but there's no way for him to heal back up without going to Fountain to actually be able to rejoin his team.
I have a feeling he'd probably almost just be dead after getting hit by a barrel.
It leaves him with about 300 health left, you know?
Oh, okay. That's
Somewhere
good
around
point.
there.
That's good. Well, Void Staff's now completed from here, but doesn't have any extra damage, doesn't have the Lich Bane on the back of it. Spectre's Cowl for Flandre, bit of magic resist is done. If you look over the other side, perfect Hex for Zhonya's and a Void Staff with a Nomicon tacked on top here for Doinb. He's 1 item away from full build on this Viktor, and he's doing so much damage.
I mean, you have a superior gold lead on a team that's better at 5v5ing with a superior late game competition at this point.
Yeah.
Snake need to start looking down the line, you know, what do we adjust from our draft phase and how do we come back?
Yeah,
he got Doinb.
Yeah, he's looking to try and find his way in. The Zhonya's has been popped as Flandre looking to take down TNT, who now has a brand new Infinity Edge and is kiting like a god. You can't deal with it. That is going to be the double kill for V there as Ella, he has to be careful. The Fracture's not going to find him, but there's the double for Doinb, and QG, despite the horrid early game, come back with what is a pretty convincing win in the end.
A 10-minute stumble, but they climb back on their throne. The kings of team fighting show up in the mid-game. Again, Snake overcommit. They fumbled their draft. They didn't have enough threats. Like you said, that composition was fine. Win lane, win game. But if it was ever on even footing, if they ever fell behind, there weren't the tools necessary. And Snake are in the losers bracket because they're the least adaptive to the 5.60.
Yeah, and I just want to point out one more time that this was the ideal game for Snake. You know, standard lanes, get Flandre rolling, get you rolling, Assassin, huge frontliner being able to dive in there. They just make one error, and that's what happens when you run a very execution-focused team comp. You make one error, QG's comp does everything else better than you, and you just lose the game.
Yeah, it becomes difficult when you just don't do anything as well as your opponent. But you have to throw it out there too. Flandre, the fact that, you know, 2 bans thrown at him, was able to be a complete monster there on the Olaf, especially in the early game, but
he got a rush of blood.
You did. You did.
Flandre.
That's the Flandre way.
He's adapted fine to 5.16. It suits him perfectly. We finally see him in the 1v1 lane, you know, picking up the Olaf, like you said, eating the Riven and the Fiora ban. It's the rest of the team that's a problem, primarily in the jungle. Not that Elise isn't a big pick, but when Swift is able to now have these threats to eat up a Nidalee ban and then pick up someone like Skarner and then use it so effectively.
I'm not sold on Elise. I think that Elise, honestly, is just not a good pick anymore. I think she's great in laning phase when you go 2v1 and you're able to push down turrets, use her range, use her turret diving. We saw how good she is in the early game at turret diving and things like that. But when it gets to a team fighting phase, you just look at things like Gragas, things like Rek'Sai that do so much more, that are being completely untouched. She has one piece of CT and it's single target. It's just not doing enough against these top tier teams in the team fight meta. Very good pick jungler. It's just that pick doesn't work right now.
Or especially not when you're not building a comp around it or playing your comp around any pick. Is the fact that QG were just able to get that fantastic team fight, accelerate that Kog'Maw. He built an outright Infinity Edge that game towards the end there, TNT. So look, he got to the point where he was able to do a fair bit of damage. We saw him kiting out everyone, and just not a whole lot that Snake could do. And I just don't understand what the response is now, because it seems like QG, they've come in with a plan. They banned out the Fiora and the Riven. Yep, and here is the spotlight, guys.
Big thing that you need to look at is the draft phase coming out of Qiao Gu. The fact that, again, the smart priority pick, banning Kalista, banning Fiora from purple side, and then prioritizing the Gankplank. Was Gankplank the hinge on which this game swung? Not really, but even though V was put down, he was still able to be effective on the back of that champion's base stats and kit.
Yeah, 100% agree. And you said, what does Snake do? I think the honest answer has always been there for Snake. Do the same thing, but try and hit him harder with it this time. Yeah. You know, they're definitely a one-punch team, and this time, they threw one early in the game. It wasn't hard enough, so you just go back into draft phase and you try and hit them harder and see if you can take out Swift, who was in this team comp, just took no damage. Nope.
And really needs to be illustrated that both these teams have such a bigger win rate on blue side than purple side. Yes, that's the average for the LPL, but theirs is like astronomically different.
Yeah, and it's really strange. I guess it might be to do with the fact that both you and Doinb love playing the Viktor. You've spoken about the choke points on the blue side quite a lot with that champion, but at this point, I don't think this game had much to do with Doinb and a lot more to do with this little Skarner guy.
Skarner definitely was the front line that they were looking for. Doinb, however, was putting out massive damage and allowing like the Kog'Maw to be able to clean up the back end of the team fights. And every single time you use the hourglass, whenever he came out of the other end, Swift was waiting there. The Pokemon just snaps him up. Get over here, little buddy. I want to hug you for a bit.
Yep. Impale was used quite exclusively on the little Fizz man, but I have a feeling that we may not necessarily see Skarner again in the next game. Or it might be in the hands like that, because
I still don't think it's bannable. I think there are clear ways to win against it, so would be very surprised if, like, when you look at the bans right now, Azir, Lulu, Fiora, Gankplank, when you look at what Skarner does to a team comp, it's definitely not to the same effect as all these other champions.
Very good point. Whoa, TCT picking up the MVP. 1, 2, and 20 definitely had a lot of kill participation.
I mean, that said, the one thing that you can say across every single member of Qiao Gu is that they're all playmakers. We saw countless 4-man, 5-man pulverize coming out of TCT. And if you think about all the early game plays, this flash over the wall to knock Martin into the back half of his team. If you think about all the early plays that Qiao Gu were able to make connect for them, it was with Swift and TCT making these 2-man roams across the map.
Certainly was. Able to get into the mid lane, affect how those team fights were going. He was a big burly frontliner. This is where Alistar has always excelled with that ultimate. You can see he's just soaking so much for the team. 3-man knockup.
Shouldn't have even made sense.
And once again, Martin has to go over a wall. All of a sudden, the range of Lucian just means that the only person he can hit is the cow. And Kog'Maw, meanwhile, is just destroying everyone.
Yeah, just ludicrous as well. So congratulations to TCT. Well, probably wouldn't have been what I would have